Captulu here with another episode of Captulu. Today I want to talk about the concepts of love, compassion, forgiveness, and mercy. And I want to talk about them because they're very, very important. These are concepts that are commonly thought of when someone mentions Christianity. Like this. In fact, it's one of the main selling points of their religion. These four things: love, compassion, forgiveness, and mercy. And I think that that's one of the big things that draws people into it. These four concepts are something that Christianity and Christians in general should be proud of. These are really big things, right? They're very, very important. And I'm glad that a culture has developed around them. And we can see the impact, right? Love is transformative. It's the very best of humanity and has enormous power. Like we can see what love can do, right? We can see it. We can see it in the reformed criminal and the dry alcoholic and the ex-drug addicts. We can see the enormous power of love and what it does. It is transformative. It changes people. It changes things, and it changes society. Love will lead to compassion, mercy, and forgiveness naturally. Compassion compels love into action. This is another thing that Christians should be really proud of, because it says in their Bible that faith without works is dead. And that's very close to an important truth, that love without actions isn't love, it's selfishness. It's taking the feeling of love and removing any responsibility that love comes with. Love without works is dead. Mercy. Mercy is giving chances to those you could justifiably condemn. It's giving that murderer a chance of rehabilitation. It's getting a pedophile a good counselor. Mercy can and will change people thought beyond reach into productive members of society. It will, and it does. And you can't have mercy without forgiveness. Forgiveness also has this tremendous power. See, forgiveness is the only thing that stops wars, that stops hates, that stops feuds. Without forgiveness, humanity would have just been wiped off the map a long time ago. Right? You can have war, but the only way the war ends is if hate ends. And the only way hate ends is when we realize that we're only human and that we're individuals. And then we forgive. And then we move on. If there's this lingering sense of hatred, war is bound to break out again. When you look at the world today, you'll see that a vast majority of crimes come from hatred or from a lack of love for one's fellow man. Some of it is also perverted love, love twisted by a lack of logic, but I'll cover that another day. So imagine the entire world if we were to practice these four concepts together. It would very well be heaven on earth. However, Christians can be very proud of practicing these concepts. They sometimes deny them. Certain Christians and certain denominations sometimes deny this. Love is not exclusive. Love does not condemn to hell those with different opinions. Love does not condemn differences in biology, like sex, left-handedness, right-handedness, or sexuality. Love does not condemn different forms of love, again, like sexuality. Love does not make floods and commit genocides. This is just yet another thing Christians have to be proud of, which to me is that they practice love much better than the literal interpretation of their God and their scriptures. And I am just incredibly proud of that they've moved past some of this, and that they are now practicing a purer form of love. It's great to see, and they've made tremendous progress. So this makes me question, I think all religions need to be examined. The best parts of the religion should be still practiced, while the worst is just acknowledged but left. I know that we can grow as a species this way. So at the same time, I'd like to address those who think that these four concepts make us weak. So I do understand the people that think they will become naive or too trusting or completely pacifist if we practice these virtues. the Bible, at least the works of Paul, I mean, for example, Jesus, he did drive the people out of the temple, so you can't say he's a complete pacifist, right? I do believe he said turn the other cheek, and he was crucified, but it was for the narrative. It was for the religious arc. It was for the it was, in my opinion, meant to show love and was meant to show self-sacrifice. Perhaps it wasn't written in the best manner. I'm not going to say it was, but I'm not also going to say that Jesus was a pacifist. Merely that people could just look at what he did on the cross and interpret that as pacifism. While completely ignoring the time he got really violent and rightfully throughout the people making money in God's temple. So I think Paul took it to the extreme. I think that the people in Acts were persecuted and did not raise an army to defend themselves. They didn't defend themselves. They got jailed. They were hurt. The idea of pacifism, of always turning the other cheek, even to the death, is a frightening thing to teach people. I believe all life is precious. All life is valuable. So this includes the life of the individual. The individual, therefore, should be able to defend himself in the event of emotional abuse or physical attack. To turn the cheek always, right? Not just sometimes, but always, is to value one's own life. It's to say that your life, the life that you lead, is worthless. To turn the cheek all the time in these circumstances just encourages the abusive person to abuse more people. And if those people turn the cheek as well, all the time, society would be screwed. We would have tyrants and bullies ruling society more than they already do. So I do think most people will agree with me here. I mean, they might disagree with my take on the religious text there, but I think most Christians and most Protestants and Catholics and Jews and all that, I think they'd agree that, well, not the Jews because they don't believe in Jesus, but I think most people would agree with me when I say, we need to defend ourselves. This is something that's important, and that we can show love while practicing self-defense, both emotional and physical. But at the same time, so I don't think that being nice, practicing love, compassion, mercy, and forgiveness is a weakness. I don't. Because at the same time, you have to protect yourself. It's that element of self-defense that keeps it from being weakness. Otherwise, yes, the evil would rule in the world, much more than it already does. And the reverse of these values, hate, rage, and apathy, they just devalue human life itself. It doesn't, when I say devalue, I don't mean lessens the value of. I mean disrespects. It treats like dirt, These three vices, hate, rage, and apathy, are powerful destructive forces, are the most powerful destructive forces the world has witnessed. These vices are some of the primary sources of human misery, besides misguided love, and the primary source of evils in the world today, again, aside from misguided love. Name a problem, and you can usually trace it to hate, rage, or apathy, and I would add the perversion of love, but I'll tackle that another day again. So if the four virtues I mentioned, which is love, compassion, mercy, and forgiveness, are not practiced, it will lead to apathy. This is where man no longer cares about those around him. Now, it can start either as apathy to those that you don't see, and apathy to everyone beside a select few, or apathy to everyone. Now, this is very dangerous. As a world without love and compassion, the world will become the survival of the fittest. I can't imagine such a world, to be honest. I see people doing this every day, though. Like, every day. I see people on the bus that ignore people that need help. I see when there's a problem that very few people actually go to help. I see those that they just don't care. They want to get on with their day. They look past you. They treat your life as meaningless. Perhaps they don't mean to. I really don't think they do. But I think apathy is the common response that people have to each other without practicing these virtues. You can say that you're a good man, right? But if you don't practice love, right, if you don't practice compassion and mercy and forgiveness, you're just average. You're just the average person. The average person is apathetic. That doesn't make you good. It just means you haven't done anything bad. You could be nice while still being apathetic. Once again, that's not being good. That's being normal. It's being average. Everyone does that. There's nothing special about it. You're not good if you don't hurt people. You're not good if you don't do anything to help people. You're just normal. And this is important to recognize. That to be good, you have to put in an effort. You have to do more than just sitting on the sidelines, letting everyone else do the work, letting everyone else help people. You have to step in and you have to pull your load too. You have to step in and help people. And that's only then can you start to call yourself good. I mean, I do see opposites sometimes, and it does move my soul. Great acts of love and compassion can almost make you see God. It can almost make you feel that spiritual experience. And if you've ever witnessed a great act of compassion, you do feel a spiritual feeling like of awe, of wonder, of joy, and of hope. This is a reminder of what the world could be if we all practiced these important virtues. And now, if these virtues weren't practiced, it can lead to hate very easily. So easily, it's terrifying. How hard is it to convince a mob to kill? Now, I honestly want you to think about that. How hard is it to convince a mob to kill? History says it's not very hard. One person throws a rock into a window, and now the second person has thrown a rock into a window because the first person did it. Everyone has this threshold, of how many people can do something before you feel like it's okay for you to do it. Some is low, some is high. The question is, would you eventually throw a rock into a window? Would you eventually kill someone? Perhaps not now. Perhaps you are practicing love, forgiveness, compassion, and mercy. Perhaps you would try to stop the mob, and that's great. But my point is if these values aren't being practiced, if you have a baseline of apathy, it can turn very quickly to malevolence. If you aren't practicing love and compassion, you could quickly turn to a malevolent form of thought. How hard is it to get people to hate someone regardless of if they're guilty or not? Like, we can look in the news and we can see all these people being slandered and smeared who weren't guilty at all, and people sending them death threats and stuff, and we can see that stirring up hatred isn't hard. If people are at a baseline of apathy, it's very easy to get them to hate. It starts as anger. It's not hard. Like, it's so gradual, it's almost unnoticeable. It starts as anger, and then that slowly builds over time. Anger, unchecked, can lead to hate. Hate, if unchecked, can lead to rage. So apathy can lead to anger, because you're not practicing love. Anger, when again, you're not practicing love, it can turn into the more volatile form of hate. And hate, if left to fester and boil and is not resolved, will lead to rage. Hate is all-consuming. It doesn't let you think. It just takes over, logical or illogical. And then it's so easy to act out. After all, it's justified. You're right, they're wrong, they deserve it. This is rage. This is a terrifying reality, one that we can't even really comprehend. We don't believe that we could ever be capable of that, but history shows otherwise. Hate turns good, innocent angels into demons straight from hell. I'm capable of that. You are capable of that. And it's a possibility that we will act out in rage in the future if we do not guard against it. This is very important. It's very important to realize. Think about it. And I do want you to think about it. Once again, I know I'm asking you to think too much, but given the right situation, you are capable of bigotry, of hatred, of rage, and of murder. Now, this isn't an easy thought, but it does happen to some people. We can actually observe this by checking court cases. We are dangerous. We are capable of the greatest of evils, but also the greatest acts of love, compassion, and mercy. So then what we have to do is guard against these atrocities by practicing these four virtues. Only by promising yourself to stick to this path, the path of good, the path of love, compassion, forgiveness, and mercy. Only by promising yourself to stick to this and follow it, that can you prevent yourself from becoming a monster. There's nothing else can do it for you. Nothing else will do it for you. We can listen to our empathy and grow it. We can grow our capacity for good, or we can put empathy on mute. Both are very, very possible, and you are capable of the greatest evils and of the greatest good. Question is, which will you choose? Because you have to make a choice. What will it be? Which will you choose?